What's going on, guys? How we doing? Today we're going to go over the weekly trade recap. Had about 5 or 6 different trades here, and I want to cover them all. The market is still live as I'm kind of doing this recap here, so keep that in mind. But the first trade I want to talk about was in Reddit, right? So Reddit was a setup that we took last week, and we ended up closing this week. I was initially playing it out of this break of this weekly consolidation. We got this nice buy setup off of the failure to go lower on the weekly 8 EMA, right off the 20 EMA as well. We did get a poke higher, but then ultimately ended up failing. So we initially took this position last Monday around the 180 marker. The next day we opened up and we were able to take about a 35% trim. But then rather than close at break even, we got back to around break even and I added some more contracts, and then slightly under I added some more as well. Ultimately ended up closing this position somewhere around here. I forgot if it was Friday or it was actually this Monday, around this 164, 165 area. It was like a net 55% losing trade on this trade overall. So at the time, the way I viewed it was that it gave back a good chunk of what we made on CRDO. CRDO was about a 65-70% net winner, which was great. But this trade gave back a good chunk. And as you can see, we still would not have recovered. This does look good moving forward, and it seems we just need a little bit more time. Fake out some bulls, fake out some bears, but maybe towards the end of the next week or the monthly close, we can reevaluate this one. Another losing trade that we took in here was an STZ. I really like this setup. We took this trade on Monday, took a 25% loser here, really no big deal at all. So I'll show you the exact setup that we took. We took it on the 5-minute chart. So the target down here is at 172.8, looking for continuation from the earnings. I said I wanted to see a gap under the previous week low, which we did, a spike back up and under the opening print. So I took the 175 puts as we broke down under the opening print. And within a blink, those things went up about 30%. But then we immediately reversed, and I said a 5-minute close. That's strong. I'll exit. And sure enough, I exited either on this candle, one of these two candles, and then this is pretty much the low of the week, right? So the idea was good. The trade was work, simply failed. I would take this setup again, maybe trim more on the way down this time. But ultimately, no big deal, 25% loser or so in there. Now talking about some of the good stuff. Roblox, right? So we took some Roblox. Why did we take Roblox? We took this yesterday because Roblox had a nice gap up. Let me see where we're at. Here we go. So Roblox had this bar on Wednesday, then we pretty much gapped over that entire high. I was looking for some type of retest of that 64 area back above the opening print for entry. So if we're looking at Roblox, yesterday, keep in mind we took entry with a stop loss basically under the 64.3s. I believe we took entry either on this bar, the second bar, or the fifth bar. I think it might have been the second bar. No, excuse me. It was the fifth bar. It was the fifth bar because we spiked up, kind of spiked down. We were a little bit of a drawdown, did spike higher. We spent a lot of time consolidating, but ultimately then off to the races, and we absolutely pumped, right? We got about, I think as high as a 45% trim on this one, and ultimately trailed out those contracts from around $200 to around $230 there. Altogether, this is about a net 30% winner. So pretty solid there. I ended up closing the position right here at like 65.6, right as market was closing. I just didn't like that sell-off. I didn't like how the daily was going to look end of day, so I decided to close it. Sure enough, that was pretty much the right decision. As of now, just a small, tight daily inside bar. We can allow those hourly EMAs to catch up, and maybe we could take a trade next week on it, right? Next, JPM. So another setup that I'm watching for next week. So we took JPM, the daily close on Wednesday. Why? Because we had a really nice failure to go lower from earnings, back over the opening print, really strong daily bar. I was looking for some continuation to at least test the previous all-time high around this 254 area. And sure enough, we did, and we pumped even higher. This was like a net 35-40% winner as well. Really nice. I think it was closer to about 40%. If you look yesterday at the 5-minute chart, we had that nice power bar initially, and then we did make new highs where we trimmed some. I think those contracts went from about 3.1 to about 5.1 or so. Really nice trade in there. And then next, we had a couple in cart, right? We had a couple trades in cart. I'll cover every single one that we talked about. So the initial trade, where are we? Looking at the daily chart real quick. So the initial trade was in here. We took the trade off the hourly 8 EMA, and we ended up selling a good chunk on the Wednesday, gap up for about 50%. This was about a net 35-40% winner too. So a lot of these net 35-40% winners, which is what I like, because I try the best I can Again, we have some exceptions like Reddit, right? But I try to keep the losers to like 25, 30% and keep those net winners to at least 35, 40%. Again, we're not going to be able to do that every single time to the best of our abilities. So at the very least, if we're like 1-to-1, the winners will always outweigh the losers, right? So here, it was about a 35, 40% winner. We took some trims at 30, 35%, took a trim at 50%, trailed the rest out just above break even. And then we added some back at the end of the day on Wednesday, but then closed it at break even. Additionally, we added some yesterday towards the middle of the day, right? Somewhere around here. A little bit of a rally end of day. Yes, we did spike up, got a little bit of profit there, and then closed here for a little bit of a loss, maybe a little bit green overall, but basically a break-even trade. Anything for me that's plus or minus 5%, I consider that a break-even day or a break-even trade, excuse me. So for me, this was in my eyes a break-even trade. So overall in the week, pretty solid week. We ended up closing the Reddit for an overall loss, which wasn't ideal. A small loss in STZ, and then some solid winners in JPM, Roblox, and CART. That's pretty much everything for the week. A lot of future trades, but moving forward, I'm going to do something separate for futures. So I'm just going to cover the options in this video. So hopefully you guys got a little bit of insight as to what I was thinking, learned a little bit, and stay tuned for any swing trades that I might put on before the day ends. We still have about 2 hours left. So have a good rest of the day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.